friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Becky and today we're talking about all the books I have read in July. I did manage to read 11 books in the month of July. Of those 11 books, 7 of them were thrillers, 2 of them were mysteries, 1 was a horror book, and 1 was a fantasy book. And then my average rating for the month was a 3.68, and unfortunately this is pretty representative of my reading year as a whole. As like my actual rating breakdown was, I had my notes on my iPad right down over here, so if you see me looking down, that's why. But in the month of July, my lowest rating of the month was a 3-star, and I have 3 books that were 3 stars, 4 books that I rated 3.5 stars, 2 books that were 4 stars, 1 book that was a 4.5 star, and 1 book was a 5-star. Only 3 5-stars given. I think 1 or 2 of the 5 stars were reads. So this 5-star was like one of the first ones this year. I was like, oh my god, finally a really good book. But I definitely want to go through and give some mini reviews for each of the ones I have read. And I think I'm just going to go in the order of least favorite to favorite, since most of them were kind of in like the 3 to 4-star range. Figure that might be the easiest. But one thing you're going to learn is that this is my year of Frida McFadden. So you're going to be seeing her name a lot on this list. Sorry in advance. I wanted to give her a chance. I read The Tenet because that one came out earlier this year. I really liked it, and so I've been slowly making my way through her backlog, and I have found out that I am all over the place with her books. Some of them I really enjoy, some of them I think are fine, and then some of them kind of suck. So my least favorite book this month, and actually all the 3 stars this month, were all Frida McFadden books. So my least favorite was Brain Damage. This one follows a woman who is recovering from a gunshot wound to the head. So it's told in dual perspective of the events leading up to her getting shot, and then her in the rehab hospital with some memory loss due to being shot and having that injury, and trying to piece together what happened. The fact that she does not remember who shot her is the main reason why they were not able to follow up on the case. There was no other signs. So her having that memory is like integral for them figuring out what happened to her. And I did not like this one at all. I thought it was very slow paced. I did not feel any tense or thrilling moments of this one. I figured out the twist very early on, and I thought it was kind of obvious what had happened. And for the most part, I was just not really intrigued with this one. It was kind of boring to read after a while. Definitely not one of my favorites. The next Frida McFadden book I read was also a 3-star, and that one is Want to Know a Secret. And this one follows April, who's like an influencer in her small town. She has a baking channel that is growing, and we learned very early on that she also has a stalker who is threatening to expose some of her biggest secrets. And so we're trying to figure out who is stalking her, and then also what are the secrets and why doesn't she want them exposed. And this is one that I thought was fine. By the time we got to the twists, I didn't care. The pacing of this one was another one that wasn't my favorite. It was quicker and easier to get through than Brain Damage was, but it was still like by that time I got to the end of the book, I was like, okay, cool. It was fun in the moment for like what it was, but definitely wasn't a lasting thriller. Third star is also a Frida McFadden book, and it is The Coworker. And this one follows a young girl who is a prime suspect when her coworker is murdered. And so she's trying to figure out what happened to this coworker, because she thought that she treated this coworker well and was they were friendly, but then a suspicion comes onto her, so she is trying to figure out what happened to her coworker as a way to clear her name. And this is one that I did like at first. The problem with this one is I've seen plenty of plots that have done this story before. I figured out the twist very early on, and it was one of those situations where like I've seen books do this concept better, and I think that's why this was such a low rating for me. Overall, the book was fine. Of the 3-star ones, it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the better ones. But again, I've seen other books do this concept better, and I think that because I had read those first, I was subconsciously comparing this one to those. Moving on to the 3.5-star books and taking a break from Miss Freya McFadden, the first two 3.5-star books are also part of the same series, so I'm just going to talk about them together, and that is The Plot and the Sequel. These are two books in a duology, and the first one follows an English teacher in college. He hosts like this writing seminar, and he has this one super duper arrogant student who doesn't want to share his concept of his book with the whole class because he thinks that his is a guaranteed bestseller and he doesn't need help with it. He just he took the course just to get the degree, just to have some extra letters after his name to add more weight to the story. However, several years goes by and the teacher notices that this book never gets published. So he starts snooping around, finds out that the student who pitched the idea and then has subsequently told him the whole plot, ended up dying shortly after. So now he is like, well, somebody needs to publish this story. So he does. And at first he's justifying it like, it's okay. I just want to get like the story out into the world. However, when starting to go on tour for the books, he finds out that somebody knew that he is lying about writing the story, and so he now needs to figure out who's blackmailing him and stop it before his entire career goes up in smokes. And then the second book is called The Sequel, and it follows the events of the first book, which obviously I cannot tell you without spoilers. And while the synopsis sounds super duper spoilery, I promise it's not. That is what's covered in the first like 2 chapters of this book. Basically everything else and the fallout takes up most of the first book. And these ones I thought were super duper interesting for what they were, and they gave me the same vibe as another series I read earlier this year, The Perfect Marriage and The Perfect Divorce. I can't say why the similarities in this series matches the other series without spoilers. However, I think if you're a fan of one, you'll probably enjoy the other for very similar reasons. The next one we're going to talk about is also a 3.5-star, and that is Autopsy of a Fairy Tale. This is by Nicole Scarino. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This one was pitched as a fairy tale retelling meets Criminal Minds, which was all I needed to hear to pick this one up, and that's exactly what it was. We follow Belle Emerson, who is a detective who relocates to Bajka, and she relocates there to the small town from New York City after a personal tragedy has happened. Shortly after she gets to town, these murders start happening in pretty peculiar ways. And as the only one on this small town with any knowledge and backgrounds in homicide, she gets assigned to the case. And it was a compelling read. My only issue was that despite how short this book is, the Kindle edition was 260 pages, this book felt like it dragged on a little too long for my liking. I definitely found myself a little bit bored at times, just kind of like wanting to just get to the point, whether it was the next homicide, which is going to give us more clues, or just get to the answer. I also found this book a little bit repetitive, and that I get why we got those scenes, as we're dealing with Belle confronting her unresolved trauma. But so when these murders start, she has recurrent nightmares, but with the recurrent nightmares being so identical and a lot of the same phrasing being used to describe things, after a while it kind of got to a point of, I get it, can we please just move on and get to the next thing? That being said, I have, spoiler for my August TBR, I have started the next book in the series. There's 5 currently out and a 6th one coming out later this year. So I am hoping that my enjoyment of the series continues to improve as each book follows a different fairy tale inspiration for our detective to solve. And the main thing linking her is that there is a romantic subplot kind of in the background. in the first book, we just kind of meet him, and it's very obvious that he is going to be the main romantic lead. In the second book so far, it's kind of like the will they, won't they, and I'm assuming as the series goes on, their relationship is going to grow. So I am intrigued for that part. I'm definitely enjoying the crime half of it a bit more than the romance half of it, at least right now. And then the last 3.5 star that I read was Sugar by Mia Ballard. And this is one that when I was reading it, it jumps you right into the middle of the book. And so this one starts off with a wife finding out that her husband was cheating on her, so she kills him. And the rest of the book is her basically trying to not get caught for the crime as he becomes a missing person, and the investigation starts to point to her, so she's trying to get people off her track while also trying to get revenge on the mistress as well. So this one was kind of giving me oh, what's that movie? I haven't seen it, but I get a lot of like clips of it on TikTok. This one over here, Editing Me, will be so nice to add in. And it was kind of giving me that vibe. Again, I haven't actually watched the movie, so I don't know how similar the two were, but it was giving me that vibe. By the end, I definitely had some more like face on the ground, jaw dropping moments. But when I actually like finished the book and like processed the whole story, realized how kind of convoluted the whole thing was. So I liked this one. I liked what it did. I want to read more from this author, but I don't think I was like obsessed with this one. So moving on to the 2 4 stars. Hello, Frida McFadden. Welcome back to the list. So as like I said, I'm kind of all over the place with ratings for her books. So the first one I gave 4 stars is Never Lie. And this one follows a young couple who gets stranded at a house that they're supposed to be looking at. They're supposed to be meeting like a realtor there, but due to a snowstorm, they get stranded there. They don't have any cell reception. And as they start snooping, they realize that this house belongs to a psychiatrist that went missing a few years earlier. And so the wife finds like the secret stash of all the tapes, and she finds herself like wanting to listen to them and hopefully kind of figure out what happened to the psychiatrist. And so it's told in dual timelines as we learn what happened with the psychiatrist and then also the couple there. And I had a lot of fun with this one. I honestly thought I knew where it was going, but then there were a few things that did still kind of take me by surprise. I think McFadden did a really great job of leading readers in the direction where she really wanted their mind to go, and had a really excellent red herring. And she did a really good job of keeping just enough information close to her chest to allow for some really fun twists down the line. So I had a lot of fun with this one. But the one that slightly edges out was The Ex. This one follows Cassie, who thinks that she has finally met the perfect man. However, she notices that his ex was deemed as like absolutely beautiful, and everyone talked about how perfect she was. And then some weird things start happening, and she thinks that she's getting stalked, and she thinks that his ex is the one doing it. And then things happen. And this one was so much fun. This was another really good one where I think McFadden did an excellent job of leading the reader to one path and using the red herring really, really well. So that way she can surprise you later on. I thought the twists in this one were very well done. I was up late working on a costume for a show when I was listening to this audiobook, and I literally had to pause with like an audible gasp when one of the reveals happened. I had so much fun with this one. I really liked it. Honestly, reflecting back, it easily can be a 4.5 instead of a 4 star. I liked it that much. I had so much fun with this one. Moving on to my only 4.5 star, that was a reread of The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This is one of my favorite Riley Sagers, and I'm actually working on a project, spoiler for a future video, of rereading the ones I have read, reading the couple I have not read, and doing an official ranking of my favorite Riley Sagers, as I do consider him one of my favorite authors, and he's definitely an auto-buy author. I really appreciate what he does in the mystery genre. Like, even if I don't love every one of his books, I love what he does with the books. So, this is one of the first ones I want to reread, and this one is in my top 3, I would say, before doing like the whole project. Just like off of memory, this is either top 2 or top 3 favorite Riley Sager. For a while, it was my all-time favorite Riley Sager. So it was a lot of fun to revisit this one. I think it definitely still holds up on the reread. It was really fun trying to like catch the clues I missed the first time. So had a ton of fun with this one. Highly recommend. This one follows a young girl named Emma, and when she went to the summer camp, all 3 of her roommates completely disappeared. 15 years later, they are reopening the camp, and she has the option to return, this time as one of the art directors and one of the counselors. And she's hesitant to go back, but she decides to because she wants to see if she can figure out what happened once and for all and see if she can figure it out. So this one's just a ton of fun. I really like it. It has a great summer vibe. I mean, taking place at camp helps. I think the mystery is super well done, and it's one that I just love revisiting time and again. And my absolute favorite book this month was my only 5-star and the only non-reread 5-star of my entire year. And that is House of Glass by Sarah Pekkanen. And I think the reason I like this one so much is that it just got me completely off guard. So this one follows a lawyer whose job it is to give a voice to children in different types of court cases. And the child that she's assigned to is a 9-year-old child whose nanny mysteriously falls out of the top window. Beforehand, their family was like a golden family. They had the perfect life, and this murder has just shook up the whole community. And signs are pointing to different family members being responsible. So our main character is trying to get to the bottom of what happened while also being an advocate for this child. The more she gets involved with the case, the more weird things start happening. And I had so much fun with this one. While I kind of figured out where it was supposed to go, I definitely found myself at first starting to fall for the red herrings that were being fed to us by the author. But by the end of this one, I just had such a wild ride. The story definitely stuck with me in ways that some of the other mystery thrillers I read this year have not. It was a ton of fun, and it's definitely a book I feel comfortable recommending to a wide variety of readers, whether they are regular readers of mystery thrillers, someone new to the genre. This one I think has a lot of mass appeal, and it's definitely one of the reasons why it was my all-time favorite book in the month of July. Those are the 11 books I have read this month. Let me know down below if you have read any of these, if you agreed or disagree with my ratings and reviews. Let me know down below what your favorite read for the month of July was. But that's everything I have for now. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you enjoy this content and you want to get more bookish content from me, be sure to like this video and subscribe before you click off. And I do have some other videos already uploaded on this channel, so make sure you go ahead and check out something else if you want more bookish content from me. But that's everything I have for today. Thank you all again for watching. I will see you all in the next one very soon. Bye!